Joining us today for the Affordability and Fall Economic Update Media Dim Sum. The Media Dim Sum is a staple that we always like to do, my colleagues and I. But let me begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Chippewa, and the Wendat peoples. And for those of us who are settlers or even immigrants to Canada, it's important to recognize that Indigenous peoples have always been here and that we all have a role to play in reconciliation. As many of you know, my name is Mary Ng and I am the Member of Parliament for Markham Thornhill. Welcome to Markham Thornhill. I'm also Canada's Minister for International Trade, Export Promotion, Small Business, and Economic Development. I have, of course, my parliamentary colleagues who are here with me, and I'm going to just throw it to them very briefly so that they can introduce themselves as well before I deliver some remarks. So why don't we start with MP Johari, with Majid.
Good morning, Majid Johari, Member of Parliament for Richmond Hill. And thank you, Minister, once again for bringing us all together for a dim sum with the media and talking about the fall economic statement and what our government is doing to make sure that we deal with the issue of affordability for all Canadians. These are indeed difficult times, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to be able to answer many questions that Canadians may have. Thank you.
Good. And then to my colleague, Jean Yip.
Good morning, 早晨. 早上好, I'm Jean Yip, the Member of Parliament for Scarborough Agincourt. I am Minister Ng's neighbor, just a little south, across the border, past Steeles, and that is my border. And I just want to thank all of the Chinese media present here today for your support of my federal electoral redistribution issues. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Majidine. Jean, let's kick it off. It really is terrific to see so many members of the Chinese media, Asian media who are here. And it's terrific to see new faces and welcome many, many familiar faces and to really talk about the results that we are delivering for Canadians. And I always remember this happens all the time, but particularly during the pandemic, it was just so important for Asian Canadians to rely on all of you as the media, whether it was for COVID updates or for breaking news or just ways to connect with our communities. So I echo what Jean has just said, which is a thank you to members of the media and giving us this opportunity to always speak through you to our community and to Canadians and to citizens about the work that we are doing. And again, welcome to Markham Thornhill. I actually walked through the doors of this wonderful restaurant, and I, most people don't even know this probably, but I used to spend every other week here because it was it was one of my dad's favorite restaurants. So we used to be here for dim sum on a regular basis. So it really is terrific to be back. I can't think of a better place than a place where I spent quite some time, as I was growing up with my own family here, and then to talk about those very issues that I know our families and Canadians are thinking of on their mind. It has been about a year since our government was reelected with a clear mandate to support Canadians through unprecedented times and to generate jobs, create opportunities for families and for their children to succeed. It's exactly what our government has been delivering, including last week when our government released the latest fall economic statement, a plan that works for all Canadians. Right now, Canadians are not only feeling the impacts of inflation through higher food and rent prices, they're also anxious about what lies ahead. And like everyone else, I and my colleagues, of course, see the prices at the gas stations, on the shelves at grocery stores, and the cost for childcare for working families. But the good news is we have a comprehensive plan to tackle inflation and to support you and your families. Canada is in a good position. We are well positioned to weather the storm. And our government is investing in Canadians so that we can all get through this together. Key economic supports that was provided to keep the lights on, the doors open to support and help Canadians during the pandemic, they worked. And it's because those measures work that our economy is where it is today, so that we can indeed provide the targeted supports to the most vulnerable while also bringing down our deficit. Today, there are 400,000 more Canadians who are working than before the pandemic. And our economy now is 103% the size it was before the pandemic. Canada has the lowest deficit and the lowest debt to GDP ratio among the G7 countries. So that's countries like the United States, Japan, Germany, the United Kingdom, all of the G7. And in fact, Moody's just last week confirmed Canada's AAA credit rating, and that is a vote of confidence in our responsible fiscal plan. Inflation fell for the third time in a row in September, and at 6.9%, it is lower than the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Eurozone. And in fact, there is no country in the world that is better placed than Canada to get through the slowdown that we know that we are going to see. One of the ways that we're going to get through this is to have an affordability plan, and this is already delivering for Canadians. I was happy to share this work, which has already started. It includes millions of Canadians who are eligible for the GST tax credit. It's been doubled, and they're already starting to see that land in their bank accounts. To make sure that Canada's social safety net is reinforced to catch all Canadians during difficult times, our fall economic statement is delivering new measures in places like where Jean represents or Majid represents or where I certainly represent. We have families in our homes that are multi-generational. And we also are hearing the need and the want to bring, to have a place for our parents or grandparents to be with us, or or to have a family member that has a disability to be able to move back in. Here, we're delivering in this fall economic statement, a multi-generational home renovation tax credit for families, so that they can still afford to have their home and to have their grandparent live with them. I'm hoping that those that are going to do some of the renovations are also going to be some of the small businesses who can actually do this work and help families take advantage of this tax credit. We hear a lot about young people, which really is our future, and some of their concerns. Here, we are permanently eliminating interest on student and apprentice loans so that they don't have to worry about that extra debt when they're entering the workforce. And we want young people and we want families to also have a chance to get their first home. And here we're doubling the first-time home buyers tax credit. And in all of our ridings, we have a vibrant small business community. We have a vibrant tech community. And here, whether it's in Markham or in Scarborough or Richmond Hill, we want to help these companies grow. We are investing in tax credits for clean technology and clean hydrogen. It's going to make it more attractive for businesses to invest in Canada, to invest in that technology, and to produce the energy that's going to power the net zero global economy. We are the region that has some of the most dynamic, growing businesses, these tech businesses, the clean tech businesses. Speaking of Markham, GM is here. The future of automobiles is battery. It is clean hydrogen. So making sure that we're making those right investments right now is going to be really good to create jobs and opportunities for Canadians and create those excellent jobs for Canadian workers. For middle-class workers, we're supporting over 4.2 million Canadians with the new quarterly Canada Workers Benefit, so that money will get into the pockets of hardworking Canadians, those workers faster, and for our hardworking small businesses. We are working to deliver lowering the credit card fees so that the small businesses don't need to choose between cutting into what we already know are their narrow margins or passing these fees along to their customers. So that's in this fall economic statement. And we're investing in Canadian businesses because it is just so important to do that. We want to help Canadian businesses thrive here at home, but we want them to access the global market. As the International Trade Minister, that is what I spend virtually all of my time doing, helping businesses get into those really important international markets. We already have some really excellent trade agreements, whether it's here in North America with Canada, US, and Mexico, or with the European Union, or with countries like Japan and Singapore and Australia and New Zealand and others in the CPTPP. But we're also opening up new markets. I'm at the negotiating table with India, with Indonesia, and with the ASEAN, so the group of 10 countries that make up the ASEAN. I've been in the Indo-Pacific many times this year. I think one of the media colleagues, sort of had asked, what I've been doing lately, and I was sort of rhyming off some of the countries that I have spent time developing and continue to deepen that relationship for Canada. I will be leaving this Thursday with the Prime Minister as the Prime Minister travels to the ASEAN, to APEC, to G20, and I will accompany him. And we're going to keep doing the work to open doors for Canadian businesses and entrepreneurs so that they can access those millions of customers in the international marketplace, to grow their potential, to create jobs, and those opportunities that will be good for Canadians. And the Fall Economic Statement and our government's affordability plan is a fiscally responsible path forward. And it is a plan that works for all Canadians. And with that, I am very pleased to take your questions, and it's terrific again for my colleagues and I to be here with members of the media today.
All right, thank you so much, Minister. So how we will proceed is we will ask 3 or 4 questions at a time. When you want to ask a question, please say your name and the outlet you are with. Then we will go through those, and then if we have time at the end, we can do follow-ups and go through multiple outlets. So does anyone want to start with the first question? Yeah.
With Omni TV,
And
Jerome.
great.
Midterms in the U.S., I'm just looking at what's potentially that means for Canada. I mean, everybody's economy's been impacted. If Republicans get in, what kind of decisions will they make financially? How can you talk about Canada's relationship and how you're preparing for any possibilities of impact to Canada?
Well, I would say that we're always prepared, and we are there and ready to work with the American administration. We have always done that. You have seen us renegotiate a really important trade agreement between Canada and the United States and Mexico. But what you've also seen us do is work with the United States in an effort to expand, what was their Buy America to Buy North America. So today, electric vehicles, those automobiles that are manufactured and built in Canada, are going to be eligible for the tax credit that is available in the United States to those consumers. This work is done, and I can speak for myself as I do my work, and I liaise and I work with the American administration. I meet with senators. I meet with members from the House from all sides, because for Canada, it's really important that we are working with our largest trading partner, and that work will continue.
Great. Next question.
Okay, follow up?
I'll do one follow-up.
Just looking at on a different topic, just looking at the provincial elections, the municipal elections, low turnouts. People are disengaged. How would you characterize engaging people and the challenges for you?
Well, I think that Canadians and people participating in the democratic process is what is the is what underlies what is so great about Canada as a democratic country, for people to exercise their voice and to make those choices for what they want to see in their communities at all levels. I think all of us work very hard to continue to engage with Canadians, and I think a media roundtable like this, and you see us do it very regularly, because I think it is so important to communicate what we are doing to Canadians, and to always be accessible and ears to the ground to the people who we represent. I think each of us, regularly spend time listening to and reaching out and engaging with the people who are in our communities. Young people and all Canadians. I think it's really important that people continue to stay involved, and I think it's important, and this is why it's important, to make sure that our democratic institutions, that we continue to bolster them, to make sure that they really are working and serving Canadians.
And I'll just support, the minister here. In Scarborough, we certainly raised our voices with the redistribution issue, and it's been unprecedented to see so many Scarborough residents write to the Federal Electoral Commission about their not accepting the proposal for redistributing my riding of Scarborough Agincourt, 3 main streets, Warden, Pharmacy, and Victoria Park, into North York. They attended the hearings. The commission had to add several hearings, and they have been overwhelmed with all the written submissions. So when residents are seized with an issue, especially in Scarborough, they certainly do react. Well, Grant, thank you very much for that important question. And speaking directly to the businesses who do trade around the world, including in China, I've been really clear that I will always support them. Our government will always support businesses wherever they do business, anywhere around the world, including in China. And we have teams across the country or sort of around the world that do that. But I've also been given a mandate by the Prime Minister, frankly, right from the very beginning, for Canada to diversify our trade. It is why we have trade agreements in different parts of the world. It is why we are also looking to pursue opportunities in the Indo-Pacific, so that there are opportunities in the fast-growing parts of the world for Canadian businesses to operate in, and that work will continue. But my focus really has been on diversifying markets for Canadian businesses and supporting Canadian businesses where they operate. That has really been my focus.
The Chinese company was ordered to withdraw their holdings from 3 Canadian mining companies, and should we worry about a real trade war happens between China and Canada? And the Huawei has been ordered not to part in the competition for the 5G communication network. So will they be totally ruled out from Canada soil? Should we worry about that?
I think what I would say here is that Canada has been really clear about ensuring that our national interests are protected, and what you've seen my colleague in Minister Champagne do is to strengthen, is to strengthen Canada's capability for doing that. We know that in the areas of critical minerals, for example, it is really important to Canada's economic and national security now and in the future, and Canada will always ensure that it stands up for our national interests, particularly in terms of protecting what is really important for the future of the country.
Hello, I'm Maggie Han from the Signal and Spanish. And we have just noticed the Premier Ford has justified a proposal to build 1,000 new homes on the land in Ontario Greenbelt, including in Markham, in Vaughan, in Richmond Hill, in your ridings. He said it is, of course, the province faces a housing crisis, and it become more dire because the federal government has bring more over 1 million of the new immigrants. So my question is that how our federal government is actions to cooperate with all levels of the government and across different sectors to address the challenge among the immigration, housing affordability, and also environmental conservation.
Yeah, all of those are very, very important. I mean, the strength of Canada is the strength of immigrants. You have seen our government take bold action in increasing the level so that we are bringing in those wonderful immigrants who who contribute so much to our society, our economy, and that we're going to keep doing. And in fact, when I listen to businesses and they talk about the need for workers, for skilled workers, the stream that really adds to our economy are the dynamic immigrants that come in. You've also seen our government, the federal government, invest heavily in housing affordability. I don't think that there is one minister or one MP colleague that does not hear and listen to the housing needs that exist across the country. And here, I mean, we are a growing region. We are dynamic. We are a region that is diverse, that has wonderful immigrants. But we also need to be committed to make sure that there is housing affordability for those, for the wonderful Canadians who are here. So we have made significant investments, in fact, in this, in our budget, but also here in the fall economic statement. The new housing accelerator is going to speed up construction for new housing. A rent-to-own program is going to help renters become homeowners. A temporary ban on foreign buyers and non-recreational residential property is also important because we want people to be living in our homes here in Canada. And yes, of course, we have to work with all levels of government, and you've seen us do that. Here in our area. I mean, I can think about the Yonge Street subway line. I mean, this is a significant investment in transit to help green our region, but also help move people in that building of a green, of a subway station. And along there, it's going to actually help, I think, small businesses, but also, housing affordability. So the way in which the federal government has worked with the provinces and, and the cities is ensuring that when we do a plan like this and when we make those investments, that we are being deliberate about housing affordability. We are being deliberate about the economic opportunities that exist from such a build, and in that case, I mean, we have put a significant investment from the federal government to make sure that these projects, are happening. So very much will continue the work of working with others, but also taking on the leadership on the environment, taking leadership on immigration, and taking leadership on housing affordability.
Minister, you were talking about inflation, right? So what's recently, a few days ago, there's a report saying big grocery store such as Loblaws, TNT, they were taking advantage of the high inflation to earn profit at the expense of the consumer. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, my colleague, the industry minister, has been very seized with this right from the beginning. I mean, and he has, the Competition Bureau looking at, at fairness and to ensure that that there is fairness in the system. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see those Canadians and people who rely on what is a regular staple, to find themselves, I mean, in a situation where it is so out of reach. But it is precisely why the Fall Economic Statement and the work that this government has been doing is very focused on affordability. I mean, we have introduced affordable childcare. I know that affordable childcare because we talk to families that is actually putting more money into people's pockets. The GST tax credit is, we've doubled that, and that, for the next 6 months, and that's going to help people because it's going to put direct money into their pocket. We know by helping kids under 12 get dental care, for helping renters get, to help with rental affordability, like all of these initiatives are very targeted for those that are vulnerable, for middle-class Canadians who need that extra help, and most importantly, it is, seniors, $500 credit for seniors, I mean, low-income seniors. It's to make sure that they are getting that direct help that will then translate into when they go to the grocery store and they're buying groceries, that they have that extra little bit. And then maybe the final point I would say is the Canada Child Benefit is one of the first things that was introduced by our government. We've seen child poverty rates in this country be reduced for the first time because of the Canada Child Benefit, and the Canada Child Benefit is indexed to inflation. So it really is always about investing and making sure that we are helping those who need it. And this is why we call the Fall Economic Statement both an affordability plan, but also a plan that works for all Canadians. It has to work for all Canadians.
Just follow up. So you were saying your co-worker you were saying government will give that money to them. So you were saying you give this case to your co-worker to follow up about this company, a big corporate. So who is doing the
My colleague, Minister Champagne, who has responsibility for the Competition Bureau, has actually had the Competition Bureau look at this overall to make sure that that there is fairness. I mean, by those corporate players.
Any other questions? Yes.
I came in 1990s and I saw the recessions. The new immigrant at that time, they looked for a job, they have to go for 100 interviews. Right? So when you look at, say, Twitter, layoff, lots of stuff, and more high-tech company like the union is something. The union asked for more high salary increase, and we see the commodity price and the food price going up, and everybody talk about recessions. Will the government be prepared when the recession really comes? And will the UIB, Universal Income Benefit, be an option?
I would say that our government is absolutely prepared. The work that we did during the pandemic, particularly supports for businesses and for families, it worked. We were very preoccupied at the time to make sure that we preserved jobs in Canada. I think that the most important thing always is to, help people be employed, to have a job, and to earn, a living to support their families. During the pandemic, you saw those key economic supports work, and I know they work because today the economy is 103% than it was before COVID, and there are 400,000 more people working today than before the pandemic. It means that our economy is strong. We are starting from a strong place so that we can do things like targeted support for those that are the most vulnerable, so that they can deal with the rising costs at the grocery stores or getting gas and so forth. So making sure that we are targeting that support is really important. But I would also say that, and I said this when I was saying my remarks, but Moody's just the other day confirmed Canada's AAA credit rating. And the reason they did that is because it really is a vote of confidence in our government's responsible fiscal plan. So we are ready, and we know that that the slowdown is one that is one in global. I think I will paraphrase what the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister said. It is something that we are going to have to deal with, and we are not immune to it in the same way that we were not immune to COVID-19 when it came to our shores. How we manage with and how we deal with it, how we support Canadians, is something that we take very seriously and something we have consistently done. So yes, we are ready.
And also, I just want to say that in our fall economic statement, there is a $16 million contingency fund, which the government has set aside, just like all of you.
Yes.
If you're good savers, put aside some emergency money, because we know that times ahead are uncertain. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we have something in reserve to help make sure that Canadians, we have their back.
Very good point.
If I
Yes,
may
please.
add, as you know, in October, Canada actually gained about 108,000 jobs. Although there are some sectors that may be going through an adjustment period, specifically high tech, specifically e-commerce, where because of the COVID, we had to go to an online platforms to be able to. That is almost like a market adjustment, and that someone expected. But when you look at other sectors, and you look at the 108,000 jobs that we've gained, as opposed to our neighbor down south, and we are 1/10 of that economy. So again, I'll go back, echo what the minister said. The program that was put in place during the COVID to make sure that we have everybody's back, and the program that's in place now to make sure that we have the back of the one who's most vulnerable, allows that confidence for other small businesses and other businesses, medium-sized businesses and large businesses, although they go through that natural adjustment, but it gives them the confidence to still continue hiring to the tune of 108,000 jobs in a month of October, where we all talk about affordability, where we all talk about inflation, where we talk about the rising costs. And that, to me, is an indicator of the confidence that our economy and our small businesses have on the policies of the government.
And I just want to say, well, the minister has also talked about Moody's. We don't forget that S&P has also reaffirmed their AAA credit rating. And we are the third country to have this very valuable AAA rating after the United States and Germany.
Yeah, very good points.
So we're in good stead here.
And since they were talking about small business, I have to make the plug again. Reduction of credit card fees for small businesses. I hear that a lot from our small businesses, so I want to make sure that people know that that is coming. We're very committed to making that, working on that for them. I know my colleagues and I all hear that, so so a final plug for that.
All right, we have time for just one more question if there is one, and then we will break for dim sum. Or we can just break for dim sum.
Is that the
That's
real
great.
reason why
Yes.
you're all here?
No, it's to listen to this good update. That's what it is.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.